Well, thank you. And thanks for having my wife and I here tonight.
Yeah.
Not only is 8 o'clock like really close to my bedtime, so I'm absolutely taking a nap before I show up here, right? Like I am super excited to have folks be able to experience the magnificence of my wife. So often folks get me because I'm so face forward, but really like the secret sauce of it all is my gift from God. And I can't wait to introduce her to the Converge world.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. I said, look, my fingers are crossed. Please, Dr. Kim, please say yes, because I really wanted to launch this pilot with someone who is always talking about their spouse and their wife in the way that you do. And honestly, it's always inspiring when you're here on these Mondays that I get to dive in with you, but you always have that beautiful message for your wife. So I was like, you know what? You actually helped to inspire the reason for the show. I said, we need to showcase that more. And also it really producing a counter narrative to this ideas of broken Black families. So let's show them, let's flood the market with all of these amazing Black stories. So thank you so much.
Well, it's an honor. Thank you for creating the platform.
Of course. And you know what? I mean, Blue is over now. It just, the last day was on Saturday, but I heard that you went there and you got to see this amazing Black opera. Man, I was blown away, brother.
Yeah, shout out to Converge family for making that happen. My wife and my daughter and I went and saw Blue, and it was a lot. Like it was a lot. There's so much I could say, but to be able to be in an opera that's produced by Black folks with Black voices telling Black stories. I mean, Black media does indeed matter. But the depth of that storyline as a father of a Black child, oh my goodness. Like there were moments that were really awkward for me because people were applauding the performance because it was a really strong and beautiful performance. But at the same time, it was really somber for me experiencing this as a Black man with a Black son and knowing these conversations that I've had with others and the tension that I hold from within my being. I was sharing with O before the show today. I have actually thought about how I would respond to my son being killed, to my son dying before me. I've actually thought about how I would process that through. And I don't know if dads from dominant culture actually have to consider that, but that's just part of being the father to Black sons.
I'm gonna tell you right now, as a mother of Black sons, same thing, brother. And I've been talking about this, but I'll say the biggest takeaway for me was it is a predominantly white space. And you have these patrons of the opera that maybe they got season tickets. They just come to every opera that comes to Seattle. Maybe they don't really even know the backstory till they get there. Maybe they do, and that's why they're there. But just the ideas of this super Black, I'll say hella Black message, right? Black message being permeated through that audience. That for me, I went on opening night, brother, and I'll tell you the people that were just sniffles, and I mean the lady next to me was bawling, right? These ideas that it was hitting them so hard. I said, this is actually pure genius because we can have it flooding on media all the time. You see these stories of police violence hitting Black families and predominantly hitting Black men, right? You see this, this is not a new message,
right.
But in this space, it carries a different tone.
Yeah. My hope is though, Trey, is that it helps people get from a place of affinity to complicity.
Yeah.
Because dominant culture has been consuming Black art for as long as we've been creating art and then co-opting it and making it their art and saying that they came up with something. Right. And so I need folks from dominant culture to not just appreciate, not to become emotionally invested, not to become relationally connected to it because of the way they felt in this moment, but become complicit, become actively engaged in the struggle of those who are most distant from power and those who are most proximate to the pain points. That's what we need. We need more complicit folks from dominant culture. So today in the chat box, if you're there, share, put your email in, share it out for everybody. If you want to become complicit with the struggle of people who are most distant from power and positionality and most proximate to the pain points, sign up. We need complicit actors and not just those that find themselves with affinity towards Black art, Black culture, and Black struggle.
Oh my, tell it like it is, brother, every single time. Well, another point here that you want to make is apparently King County is cultivating some things. Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, there was a study that was commissioned by folks from the county around wage inequity in the nonprofit sector. And I know, wait for it, Converge family. This is going to surprise you, but they've discovered that nonprofit wages were low and they weren't providing people a living wage. Now, I got questions. Like, how much did they pay to convene a study to say what it is that we already know to be true? Like, right now, do I need a study to say that it's raining outside, or I just walk outside and get rain on me and say, look, it's raining? I don't need a weatherman for that, or weather person, or weather individual. Look, what I know is that historically nonprofits have been paying less than a living wage, and we can feel it, those of us that are served in those spaces. But now there's a study that's been produced to validate what it is that we've all been experiencing, so we can celebrate that as good news, because people love a good study, because folks need to be affirmed that people who don't have not just because they're lazy. They don't have not just because they're not willing to work hard or go to college and get grandiose degrees. They actually don't have because they're operating in a sector that doesn't honor their labor in the way that it should.
Yeah.
And so I just want to celebrate this report coming out. And then subsequent to that, the Seattle Times also ran a report about Food Lifeline, who raised their wages up to $25 an hour for their team members, which is something to be celebrated. Now, I will say in the article, the folks from Food Lifeline said that they didn't release a press release because they didn't want to lay down the gauntlet and have it be a challenge to other nonprofit organizations, which kind of felt like a wink and a nod to another nonprofit organization that may have gone public about that. But I will say, like, a large nonprofit like Food Lifeline raising their wages is another invitation to others in the community that believe that it's not possible to say, well, look, it is possible, and we can pay people more. I mean, how ridiculous is it to work at a place like Food Lifeline, where prior to this wage increase, you very likely could be benefiting from the food that Food Lifeline is providing because you're making less than a wage that doesn't enable you to get groceries and feed your family, right? These are great movements that are happening, and I'm really excited to see them beginning to come to fruition in our region.
Well, I agree. And as somebody who works at a nonprofit, I will tell you that I was very much appreciative of the fact that this nonprofit said, we're going to start off right. We're going to have this amount. And people that got hired were like, whoa, okay, what? Yeah. Like, it was almost unprecedented, right? But it was no need to talk about that because ultimately that was the work that was being done when we talk about equity.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I love that this is happening. There does need to be a wave. There does need to be a nudge, and there needs to be a nudge, not just to nonprofits, but to the philanthropy side, to understand when you are giving to these nonprofits with regard to their capital budget and what they need in terms of their fiscal year, you need to be able to say, you know what? Nah, we understand that in order for you to do your job properly, you need the amount of staff, and you do need competitive wages in order to compete with the brilliance that these corporate America, entities are able to compete with. So, part of this is that there needs to be a huge, strong message to them. Absolutely. And I talk about this in terms of unrestricted funding. You don't have to guide us and micromanage us and hold our hands to tell us how to do what we know how to do best. That, for me, is where I think that the message also can resonate, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've watched philanthropy over the course of these last few months lean in a brand new way. There's new conversations being had. They get it. And reports like this one commissioned by King County help to move things forward, because now they can have more than just like the anecdotal to support it, right? Here's it in numbers. Here is it evidenced in a way that can become palatable for folks that need those types of foundational principles to make moves to go forward. And I encourage folks in the nonprofit or for-profit sector, if you are making changes as it pertains to your wage, please don't be quiet about it. The reason why I need you to say something and to say it publicly is because we need to encourage others that it's okay. Like, it's absolutely okay to pay people a living wage. It's absolutely okay to honor the humanity of those that are serving in those spaces. It's absolutely okay to value the labor of folks who are serving in the most vulnerable pockets of our community. We struggle with having to deal with the same issues over and over and over again. And we wonder, where is the end to this cycle? Well, if we paid people for their brilliance, maybe we'd get their brilliance and begin to see an end of these harmful cycles that necessitate the existence of our nonprofits in the first place. It's not that complicated, but what it does take is courage. So I applaud the courage of the folks at Food Lifeline. I applaud the courage of those who I've spoken to over the past several months who are on their journey to make these changes for the people who are serving within their causes. I celebrate y'all, but please make sure you're saying it out loud, because behind you are several other organizations that are waiting for someone to say it's okay, for them to have the courage to do what we all know what is right, which is to honor the humanity of those who are serving within our causes.
Oh, so true, brother. I mean, this is something too. I want to talk about this because in Seattle, we have the propensity to celebrate the fact that the data was collected, not an actual solution on the other side of the data. So I don't want us to stay stuck there when it comes to celebration. I really want to make that clear as well. But we do have something else to celebrate. I see you with your Mariners hat on. Baseball's coming back. You got a smile on your face.
This isn't a freeze frame. I just want to hold this moment. Baseball is back. Now, for some of you, baseball is a very boring way to spend several hours of your afternoon. For those of us like, it's an opportunity to dive deep and have great conversations, be entranced by a game that has so much history behind it, and to get some really great, inexpensive hot dogs at Big Al's Hot Dogs. Make sure you stop at Big Al's, because if you don't go to Big Al's and get your Seattle dog there, you're not supporting the community. Black everything. But yeah, baseball's back. Super excited. Can't wait for opening night, which is going to be, I think, April 17th. If I got the date right, I might get it wrong, but it's against Houston. Can't wait for it to be here. Spring training just started. It's exciting. You know, we may not have a quarterback in Seattle, and that's a whole thing. And we may not have a middle linebacker, but you know what we do have? We have baseball.
There we go. We have baseball. As always, Sean Goode, brother, it's so great to have you with us today. Always bring in that great energy. I mean, you're Sean Goode, but your energy is above good. It is great. It is exceptional. Thank you, as always, for joining us on the Morning Update Show. And I'm excited to be with you later on tonight.
Man, I will see you tonight, fresh after my nap.
Yeah, there we go.